So, 5 neuro-tools for depression. So, number one, work with a therapist and a psych nurse. Work with a therapist to do the many different styles of therapy that and therapeutic practice that can be helpful for depression. Um, but work with a psych nurse when it comes to medication. Don't go to your doctor. Don't ask your therapist. Go to a psych nurse because they know more about that bridge between the mind and the body. And they are more nuanced in how to tweak things so that you can find the right medications and the right dosages that are going to be beneficial for you. Um, which means giving yourself permission, right? Understanding you can't just choose for your brain not to be depressed anymore. Your brain is changed by events in your lives. And we we can't just wish it away. So again, going back to toxic positivity, it's a particularly difficult one for people with depression because so many people don't understand depression and will infer that it is simply about focusing on positive things or just you need to try harder. Just not true. So work with a psych nurse. Medication can sometimes not be enough, right? Maybe it doesn't work, right? Keep trying because there are many different kinds on the market and there are many different ways for them now to nuance it so that it's easier for them to eliminate which ones won't work and to better identify the ones that might and continue to revisit this, right? If they're not working, um, and people who don't live with depression don't understand what it's like for your bar of joy to be beneath ground, right? It's not just low, but it can be sub level. And most anyone who does not live with depression, they don't understand what it feels like. And so you need to tune people out who don't know and educate them. So, number two is watch the Sapolsky lecture on depression. It's long, and there's a lot of information, but he covers really important stuff that will help you, it will validate what you're experiencing and encourage people who love you to watch it as well because they will have a better understanding of what you're living with. So that's like, watch that video. If there's only one thing you do, watch that video because it will help you understand your depression better and that helps you soften your approach to yourself. Um, when medications don't work, when you've tried many different kinds of medication and it's just your bar is still so low that it is brutal to try and get under every day, and you're living with that constant pain of depression, I strongly recommend considering Spravato. And this is ES ketamine. It's not injectable ketamine, it's a nasal spray. You do this in a clinic with someone monitoring you and with integration afterwards. I have found that to be the best thing I have done overall for my depression. That has changed it the most. And it is night and day difference. Until then, even with neuromeditative tools and other neuro tools and medication, that bar was still below ground. And that's brutal. It's unbearable. And so Spravato dialed all of that down and it basically just eliminated the bar. Like the thing that was pressing all of the depression, like that was pressing down on me, it felt lifted. And the energy that you gain and the pruning of your neurons and the generation of new neural growth, like it is extremely helpful. It resets your brain and connects you with yourself again, right? With you without the depression. It's not a cure-all in the sense that most people have to continue, right? Everyone's different. So some people continue to do it regularly. Some people can cut that back, or twice a month or once a month. And then some people just do it periodically after the initial treatments when they are feeling that slide back into the depression. This is something you have to sort through with a practitioner. I strongly recommend going through the Spravato website to find a practitioner. Um, and the other wonderful benefit of Spravato, it is often covered by insurance. Not all insurance companies, but it is covered by like Aetna and Blue Cross Blue Shield. I'm not sure about United because they suck. So if you have United, you should try and change your insurance. But consider it, right? You may be scared, you may be unsure, but it really helps and it makes a radical difference. It's not going to fix everything, right? Neuro-Tools can still help you notice when you've got depressive symptoms arising, can help you know what tools to bring in, which can help ease some of that. But they're just supplementary tools. Neuromeditation alone is not going to fix your depression. And often medication doesn't, but it's worth trying, and you have to try it before you can qualify to do Spravato. So if you've been reluctant to try medication, but only when working with a psych nurse, because again, for safety, right? There are connections with suicide with medications, and there are lots of reasons why. The Sapolsky video touches on some of that. But this is why you need to work with a psych nurse, is because they are much more versed in how to balance those things and what other supports, like if you need two medications, right, to kind of balance things. So work with a psych nurse, and obviously a therapist. When you watch the Sapolsky lecture, make note of those various phases of depression, those different types of depression. Just notice which, and start kind of tuning into, you may know right off the top of your head one of them or two of them, but maybe you have more, right? Explore that and notice maybe when it's different things activating your depression, that maybe the symptoms are a little bit different. But explore that and explore it with your therapist, these various phases of depression and which are the ones you experience, because that can help you know which tools to bring in. And then as far as Neuro-Tools go, practicing focus is best when you're in an active depression, and that's because our brains, the parts of our brain that connect with feeling love and compassion for ourselves or for others, aren't connecting. And the chemistry in the brain and which parts are activated or inactivated, that is something that open heart, we often can't connect with when it's active. So if you try open heart, that's the other style for depression. If you try that and you can't connect with it, you may be on the edges of or in a active depression. And maybe you don't notice it because you're still learning to identify when you're in an active depression. Talk with your therapist about that. But your brain waves are increased, right? It entrains faster brain waves, and focus also balances the mind. And so that can be very helpful when we're in an active depression because we have the asymmetry in the brain. And so it helps balance some of that asymmetry as well as increasing brain waves, which can help us feel like we've got more energy and feel better. Open heart practices also increase your brain waves. They also entrain the brain to alpha, where we do all of our emotional processing, right, is in that alpha band. So connecting the parts of your brain, right? Your subconscious and your conscious, the alpha bridge, it bridges those two. So it's where we can do some deeper work, right, with that emotional processing. Just notice if you can't connect with those feelings of love and compassion without judgment, shift to focus. So, this is where you're going to want to explore also how your brain likes to focus. And so, go to the focus page for more information on really honing in which way of practicing focus is going to be best for your brain. And then, with open heart, play with whatever imagery works best for you. And this is again depression. The cave of safety is very, very helpful for having that safe place to just receive unconditional love as well as to give it. Um, so, working with those two styles are going to be the primary ones you're going to want to work with when you are living with depression. The others can be helpful, but they do decrease your brain waves. And so they can be helpful when that's okay, like when you're trying to fall asleep, or um, maybe when you're really wanting to tease out some of what's emerging. But often with depression, what emerges is cognitive distortions and rumination, and they tend to be negative and also tied to a distorted sense of things. So just knowing that your thinking is not normal, it's not your normal when you have an active depression running. And so that impacts everything. But practicing focus, if you want to just be like, okay, for depression, pick one, pick focus, right? You can shift into open heart and try that if you feel ready, and when you think that you're at the edges or not in an active depression. But if you do try it and you can't connect, again, the most important thing is to not judge yourself. That's not your fault. It's literally your brain and the chemistry in your brain. So, no judgment. Remember that only will hurt you.